Yeah, and we are live. I see Brennan's already in here. What's up, Brennan? Nice to see you, sir. With me, I've got FamiliarCow. I'm sure everyone, if you're watching this in the THORChain community, has come across FamiliarCow. Since I've been around THORChain, he's been here already. So I don't know his whole story, but hopefully we can get into that. We're going to talk about some news, general, broad news, I think, and then we're going to get into some THORChain news. He did say at one point he put out sort of a vague, ominous tweet about he got the call, so we'll cover that, and then maybe some Rugira if we can get into some of that as well. But yeah, so do you go by Cow, FamiliarCow, Tyler? What would you prefer?
Yeah, sure. So like, I mean, I go by both. So FamiliarCow's been my tag like forever online. So like, I just, I do that on Twitter and Discord and stuff like that. If you know me, call me Tyler. You can call me Tyler. Like, I don't mind. So,
Okay.
this is like such a weird thing. Cause like when I started, really wanting to work on THORChain, I was like, I was talking to people that I know. It's like, should I like be pseudonymous or should I just like be me? And then, I was thinking like nobody else in reality has this problem. Like everyone else just does their work and they're just them,
Yeah.
And I'm just like, well, why? Like, I'm like, I enjoy this and like I'm proud of the stuff that we're building. So like, why would I really want to be anonymous? But at the same time, it's also like a weird space. So like,
Yeah.
it's cool not being like exactly yourself, but being a little pseudonymous. So
Yeah.
that's why I like it a little bit.
Yeah, I actually thought about going the other way. So I made my like socials when I was doing real estate content on YouTube, and I think on Twitter is what I made that for too. And then so I was already out there. Like I did that with my actual name and my picture, but I've thought about going in reverse like you, like with your PFP, the Wizards.
Yeah.
I thought about going the other way, but I kind of don't feel like I can. But whatever, maybe I will do something like that. So what exactly is your involvement with THORChain? Like what's your kind of position?
Yeah, sure. So I work for Nine Realms. I do my official position is I'm the like biz dev and communications manager for Nine Realms. So some context is that Nine Realms is the core dev team for THORChain. Like we're a group of devs and also like other folks, like people that are more on like the TradFi side that just kind of came into THORChain, and we joined. So this is before I joined Nine Realms, but Nine Realms kind of joined the fray like basically like I don't know, a week or two before the THORChain hacks in 2021, and then it was like instant ramp up, and then I joined the team a couple months later, probably like I think around like I don't know, February or March 2022. So like I've been in the community since like early 2021, and then was just kind of around for a while. I did my own project. I created the Thor Force One, the THORChain themed Air Force One sneaker, which is like pretty cool. That's how I started meeting people in the space, because I really just wanted to like obviously like I saw a ton of value in THORChain and really wanted to be a part of it. So then I just started talking to people, and then met the right people and joined the Nine Realms team. So like since then I've been just doing comms for THORChain, because I started doing like Twitter spaces all the time in those days. And so I started off doing comms, and then I kind of transitioned into biz dev too. So like these days I just I do some of my own stuff on the side, just like Rune tools, like the dashboard that I'm building. But like for THORChain, I do like comms, like all like Twitter stuff, and it's sort of marketing sort of things. Like I don't exactly do marketing, but I don't not do marketing. And also just like talking with wallets, like getting the biggest wallets and exchanges to use THORChain as infrastructure. So those are like all the different areas that I focus on, and kind of how I joined the team. And we're a pretty small team. Like Nine Realms is 12 people or less, and a couple devs, and it's a great group of guys. So great team.
Do you have like a lot of coding background before you got into this, or no?
No, not at all. I'm not a dev at all. I was an environmental scientist. I used to so like I used to do something completely different, and I was going back to school for engineering, and then I was just like, well, I should just do THORChain instead, because like I was I was not very bullish on the environmental engineering space, and I am quite bullish on THORChain. So
Yeah,
I do not regret that decision at all since I made that. So
cool.
yeah, it's
Yeah,
it's been like best decision that I've made.
yeah, no, that's awesome. I'm glad you found a foothold in it. I think honestly, you're probably somewhat living the dream, to be completely honest. I know you
100%.
alluded to Rune tools, and so I'm gonna pull up the resource here. So if you're on Twitter and you're just listening and you can't see him, he's got some really awesome tabs here. And one of the things I like is the time frames, because for example, I'll go to look at volume sometimes on THORSwap, but they have like the 30-day on the dashboard. So you got different time frames on here. You can look at the daily swappers. And then I obviously really like the supply tracker, but you can get almost everything out of this single thing. And I think you said somewhere on Twitter that you're building just using AI and kind of figuring out as you go type.
Yeah, I'm like I'm Rick Rubening it basically. So no, I have this great tool called Cursor. So okay, let me back up a little bit. So like when I started on at Nine Realms, one of the first things that I did was I went and redid the whole THORChain website. So like I didn't do it myself. We hired a external party to do it, but like obviously they make an initial site, but like they don't maintain it. So like I kind of took on the maintainer role of the website. So like I just like I learned like a little bit of Visual Studio from like Pluto and some of the other guys that taught me some things, and I just like started diving in, just like making edits, because like obviously like someone needs to maintain like the website, which is like probably where people go when they want to learn about a project. So I started just like doing some of that myself, and I'm just like, all right, like this is cool. And more recently I've been just like, obviously like AI tools are just absolutely insane. So that was like my first things that I was actually like doing and like pushing code and like making PRs and stuff. And then like I saw this new tool, like this is like in August and it's January now. This is only a couple months ago. Cursor AI came out, which is basically Visual Studio, but with like Chat GPT and Claude baked in. And it gives it like, you can give it the context from your code base, so you can like write these very complex apps. So I started off doing a swap estimator for the THORChain website, because like if you go on Changely or like some of these other like swap engine sites, you go on their main page and it'll give you like a quote right there. And I'm just like, why don't we do that for THORChain? Like we have this cool new endpoint that I can use, and I just built it up using ChatGPT. And I redid it a couple times. It's still super messy. Like it doesn't really code like really nicely, but it does get the job done if you really know how to be hyper specific in what you're asking and like how to manipulate the data that you're trying to use. So yeah, the first thing I built was this little quote endpoint, where not the quote endpoint. I'm using the quote endpoint to just create a little simulator. Exactly, this little app right here. This is what it's built into, and you can just type in an ETH amount and press get quote, and it'll show you how much Bitcoin you get out of a quote. So it's just literally like the framework of a swapping app, basically. But like I just wanted something to be on the THORChain homepage to like to show, not tell, what THORChain actually does. So that was the first thing I built, and then that kind of grew, and then I built like dozens of other apps, and then that just kind of like, wait, I should just put this into one website and just make it into this thing, Rune Tools. So that's what I ended up doing with all that.
Yeah, I mean, you've got so many tabs here that it's like every time I come to it, I'm always like, I'm trying to find it. And I'm like, eventually he's going to create like a favorites, like Dex tools, like a watch list for coins. I'm going to have like my favorites for like all these tabs. Maybe.
I did because you said that the other week, actually.
Oh,
yeah, if you go on the site right now, you'll be able to favorite apps. If you hover over something, and you can put a little star on it.
On like the
actually not there. Yeah, I should do it on the sidebar too. But
bro,
yeah, you can star something
quick?
And it'll go to the top.
Oh, that's
I'm telling you, like the stuff you can build with absolutely no knowledge is actually insane. Like the amount of tools that are available to do this. And I'm not like like some kind of crack dev. I just like have studied THORChain's endpoints and like have seen what kind of data they can give you. And I'm just like, all right, well, how can I build something around this to do what I want to do? And then it's literally just explaining something to like a cracked dev who will just build it for you. It's pretty awesome. I'm not gonna lie.
That's wild. Actually, it's pretty inspiring too. I remember when you were first making this, I was trying to brainstorm things that I could make, but I don't know. I didn't spend enough time on it. Maybe I'll have to do something. I mean, I know of a dApp that I want to build, Like, my wife has an issue with someone that she's using like an app on the phone. So I want to tackle that, but I don't even know where to start. So it's kind of like that'd be the first thing I do. But anyways,
Yeah, you should. Like
Yeah,
I mean, this is for everybody. Like I think that there's just so much opportunity and things that you can build. Like I'm definitely like, you know, I don't have any kind of special knowledge or like this is all just like self-taught just from like messing around and doing stuff. And building these little apps just made it that much simpler because like I don't have to do a back end because THORChain is my back end for the website. There's no back end to this website at all. You
Nice.
could completely self-host this website and just plug in your own endpoints and like you have like a total copy of it. It's all open source, by the way, too. But like just building this little stuff is like literally anyone can do it and teach yourself how to do this. And like you can like there's this meme going around, like you can just do things, you know, like you can literally just build whatever it is that you want. I actually at one point I did build like a buy Rune app where you can literally just connect your ETH wallet and just buy Rune on it. But I'm like I can't, like I didn't personally write the code, so I don't want there to be some kind of issue where someone like buys something and it goes wrong. But like you can literally just like tap into this stuff and tap into the infrastructure that's around and just use it to do things, which is like so crazy and stuff that you couldn't even do like a year ago. Even like you kind of do this to ChatGPT, like, but it wouldn't have turned out anywhere close to what it is today. So like even the tools just a year ago to now, it's kind of 0 to 1 in my opinion.
Yeah, and it's only going to accelerate. I saw a video where a guy just talking, so he didn't have a keyboard, he just had the monitor set up. And he just told the computer what to build, and it was building it while he was talking to it. And it was like, it's going to be completely wild. What's going to happen is going to only further accelerate. Well, Tyler, awesome. You're in 9 realms. So we're not going to talk about price or anything for sure on this. Should we talk about a little bit of news, or should we get straight into some THORChain? I do want to get your thoughts though, just on some stuff, but
yeah, whatever you want.
How loose can you be with some of your opinions, considering you work with 9 realms?
I mean, I'll just say whatever I feel. So, I mean, we're all like we're a group. We're also a collection of individuals. So, like you know, everyone's you know pretty understanding. So if it's something like you know I don't want to talk about, then we can just move on. But
okay, cool.
You know, I'm pretty open to talking about anything. So
yeah, let's try to fly through a little bit of news and then get into a little bit of THORChain, just because I'm curious your thoughts. I live in my own little silo. I don't really get to talk to people about this stuff that much. So this is awesome. Yeah. I'm very happy to have you on here. So, what do you think about Ross getting freed? I've seen mixed.
I mean, yeah. I mean, yeah. I mean, the dude's been in jail for. He's been in prison for like how many years? Like 15 years almost. Like, yeah. I think it's time. Like, I sympathize with Ross and you know nonviolent offenders out there. Not that I like you know am super studied on like all these stories and stuff. I also don't keep up with the news or anything. But yeah.
Because I mean, my thing was when my thought on this was when he went to jail, Bitcoin was thought of more as like a privacy sort of coin, even though it wasn't, obviously. But I don't think the tracking and the chain analysis was there yet, which is really more of what Monero is now. So I'm kind of wondering if he's going to end up, but he's going to have so much support from the Bitcoin community. I don't know if he'll be able to shift even if he wanted to. But my thought on this was I wouldn't be surprised if he goes hard into privacy coins, considering how Bitcoin.
That would not be surprising to me, for sure. Yeah, I mean, like if you know anything about Ross, he's an ultra libertarian guy, so like I'm sure that's something that he's thinking about. But hey, listen, if I was him, I'd be like figuring out how to just enjoy myself and like just I don't know decompress after what was probably an extremely stressful period in my life, going to like go to prison for a long time and being able to just like be outside. I'd probably travel for a while if I had something like that.
He lost like his entire prime basically, unfortunately, through this whole thing, I think. But prime in terms of like his like 20s, I think, were completely gone, and then probably some of his early 30s. I don't know how old he is, but
I think he's like 40.
He's like, really? Because I thought I thought he got caught in like a school library. So I assumed he was like 22. Maybe.
I think it was a public library, actually. I don't know though.
Okay. Yeah, you could be right. I'm not too versed in it either. But okay, cool. Yeah, some people they're not happy about him getting out because of what the website. It's like there's two separate, you know, what you can do with absolute freedom is obviously not always the best thing. But then you've also got the opposite of that when you've got total surveillance that basically makes you all prisoners. So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a long time. So like, you know, I do sympathize with the people who are like, yeah, Ross should be in jail, but also like, you know, keeping people in jail for life is also just another can of worms to open. So yeah.
What do you think about on the privacy note? Did you see this? OFAC sanctions on Tornado Cash lifted.
That that happened a couple months ago, right? Like,
really? Well, I don't know. It just said here breaking January 21st. Well, I remember that there was some news. You're right. I don't remember what the difference was.
Thing is, there's so much. Maybe this is just the reiteration of the news. Maybe this is when China bans Bitcoin again for the fifth time.
On here, January 21st, because I think that there's multiple aspects of it. I think previous it might have had to do with the contracts, and then this might have to do with OFAC. So it might just be like specific pieces of the case. But now, if you had an address that you're not going to get, it looks like privacy is becoming back on the menu. That's kind of why I wanted to tie it into this Ross getting out and what I think. I think privacy, we'll have to see what happens with it, but I just like seeing this.
Yeah, I mean, and it makes sense. Like, it doesn't make sense that OFAC can designate like a smart contract as a sanctioned individual, which is like because it just like kind of breaks the mold of like what kind of entities you can sanction, which are normally like a people, like a person or like a government organization or something like that. Like I'm pretty sure that's why that this got overturned, and this I think this was news a couple months ago. Maybe it's just like coming officially now, maybe through a different court or something like that. Like, actually, I don't know. It's so crazy to keep up with this stuff.
You're
Even
right.
As someone that looks at this all day. Yeah,
here it is.
November.
Filed November 26th. So you're right. Totally right.
Yeah. I think it's big though, because it's like because it's the kind of precedent that it sets for, like, especially like I think about it in the context of THORChain decentralized exchanges. Like, if you can sanction one piece of code, you can sanction another piece of code. So that puts us like kind of up next in the crosshairs. But I think it's a good move, and makes the like how an OFAC person is designated more consistent across the board. So I think it makes sense. Like you OFAC designate people, not like software. And
right.
So yeah.
I mean, with this opening up, what does this mean potentially? I know that Sarai is something that Kayaba is working on. Would this mean potentially that you guys or whoever might eventually put like privacy coins on THORChain? Or is that?
I mean, I think it could happen for sure. So I think the biggest hurdle right now is just that we're not privacy experts. We're THORChain experts, and like privacy is its own total rabbit hole. And someone like Kayaba is the privacy expert that knows how to build that, and like he also still does not have a DEX in production. Like, this is not it's not like, even if you are that kind of expert, this is not just like let's get it up like by the end of Q1.
Right.
It's still a monumental task. So I mean, good luck to him. Honestly, I think the best strategy for us is to just sit back, see what happens. Like, let things play out a little bit. Let Sarai ship their DEX, and then if we want to bring in like their implementation, then we bring in their implementation. Like, that's the beauty of open source code, is that we can also just like kind of rest on our strengths, and not like we don't need to be the first DEX to put out like Monero. I know Maya's planning on adding Zcash really soon. Like, we can also take advantage of their contributions to just like the open source code arena, basically. Right. So we can always upstream and just like see where it goes. I don't ever see us being the first adopter of that, just because like we just don't have the expertise. Like, if we had some kind of like super Monero genius on our team, then it'd be like, oh yeah, well, why don't you work on this? But we just don't have that guy.
Cool. So it's like, because a lot of the community speculates that it's fear of some of these regulations and that kind of thing. Yeah. So it sounds like it's more just a technical reason rather
than it's a mix of everything. Like, you can't depend on one reason, because it's like there's a lot of reasons. It's like, there's that, but then there's also like like 3-letter agencies coming in and saying something too. And like you know, there isn't just one reason. Like that's the primary technical reason. Then there's like then there's like the other reasons like that. And I think there's architectural changes we can make to make THORChain better for this too. Like only so like I think one thing that Sarai is doing, which should be something that we at least think about and look into, is not having every validator run a node for every chain. And I think it is important that we do for like the most economic, like our Bitcoin assets and stuff like that. But for say like imaginarily we had someone that could do Monero and we could do it tomorrow, and then we get it into THORChain. Sorry, I kind of lost my train of thought on that. But yeah. So if we did get someone to implement it tomorrow, we would. I think the better. Oh yeah. So the better way to get THORChain on is to make it optional to run all of the chain daemons and be able to opt in and out. So like specific validators can say like, I'm going to run Monero or I choose not to. And then we can have a network that will cover all the bases, but not also put like specific node operators at risk, for example. So like that could be a good strategy to level up THORChain, but also like, you know, keep people safe. And like maybe the government's just like totally cool with it now that the current administration is in. I doubt it though. So like I think it's going to be a tricky landscape to navigate, and like one that I would rather not be the first. You know, it's a wilderness, and one that I wouldn't want to be the first person to step foot in, because there's a lot of scary things out there. So I advocate for safety.
Yeah, I mean, wouldn't it be easy to just get a Rune pool over on Sarai Dex? Would that even need to be Rune, and then you could just Dex aggregate?
I mean, you could if the dev did not hate THORChain so much. So you know,
I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's no secret that Kyle does not like THORChain. That's why he's creating a competitor to THORChain. So
okay,
yeah, I mean, all power to him. Like, you know, he's learned from THORChain's lessons, and we'll also learn from his lessons. And you know, if he wants to be the first one to stumble into the dark forest and see what's in there, like, you know, we'll be watching and seeing what happens for sure.
Okay, I'm sure he's plenty lawyered up and getting some advice. Prior to it happening, and then with this administration coming in and what we're seeing just there with the news I shared, fingers crossed. And it's open source, like you said, so it's not like he can gatekeep and you guys can't see what he does eventually or what might happen.
Exactly. But I think the way that they're implementing it, like I don't think they have our encryption curve implemented. Like I don't think they use certain things that, like, there are certain technical blockers which could be put there intentionally, could not be put there intentionally. It's like he just doesn't even see the value of getting THORChain on there, I believe he said. But I mean, I don't want to put words in his mouth either. So it's like, you know, it's cool. It's cool what he's doing, and I'm glad that he's doing it. And like, I'm glad that somebody's doing it, you know? So like, if it's a huge success, then I'm sure that we'll want to like figure out our strategy around it. And if it's a giant legal battle that is just like a dragging on thing, then I'm sure we'll be very happy that we just let him do that instead. And we kind of stayed a step back.
Right. Okay. Well, let's get into some of a little bit of news here. I don't know if you saw this. Telegram updates blockchain integration guidelines for mini apps. Did you see this?
No, I didn't.
So they have new terms of service that essentially are forcing everybody that's made these bots on Telegram to use their blockchain. So you like, they can only promote ton supported wallets, some other stuff in here that they mention. But I was just wondering if this is going to make Ton, which is already one of the big chains already in terms of market cap, if it's gonna, could there potentially be now? Because I'm pretty sure isn't Ton like on the roadmap for?
Yeah,
I don't know if
Ton's on our list for sure. Like we've been looking at Ton for a while, and it's been like one of it's probably like top 3 in the EdDSA chains that we want to add. So like the 3 being obviously Solana, Sui, and Ton, I think are the big EdDSA chains that we want to add. So it's right up on our list. Ton has a ton of market penetration. They have a huge user base, and obviously they have a token that on a different chain that people want to swap, which is like our MO. So yeah, we want to get in there like as soon as possible. So this year for sure. It's just like it's just timing at that point, right, and just sequencing.
Okay, Because yeah, I think I don't know. I've never owned any ton. I don't even know what the wallets look like. I don't really. I know that they got a big user base, but I'm just like, I'm wondering, you know, if they're gonna force people to use the blockchain, then they're gonna have to get in there, right? So it's like, all right, well, who's gonna allow that to happen? You guys.
Exactly.
You
And they have the
guys.
wallet built right into the biggest advantage they have is, well, first off, they have a big user base, obviously, but they have the wallet built right into the app. Like, they didn't just create the platform, they also have the wallet that's built in, and you can hold Bitcoin in it, you could hold a ton in it. Like, I'm sure you could read between the lines and seeing like what
Yeah.
THORChain can do to
Yeah, I
to
did not
step
know
in
that.
to help them out there. So like, they have
Cool.
a multi-chain wallet built into the app. So now we just have to give them the rails to be able to tap in and like onboard and offboard people. Like, that's how I think of THORChain. Really, it's really just like a crypto native on ramp and off ramp where like anyone can use it to like, if you're a single chain app developer, it's still useful to you, because like if you're like a Doge wallet developer, you want your users, your users to come in from Ethereum or whatever. Like, you want them to come in from Solana. So you'd want to use THORChain as infra to bring in liquidity from other chains into your app, because otherwise you're outsourcing it to the centralized exchanges. Like, you're basically just saying like, okay, well, people can find their liquidity elsewhere and then come to me, when you could just be doing like, all right, like, here's my app, you can instantly just onboard like from wherever you are currently, rather than being like, yeah, sign up for an account here, give me your ID, and like,
Yeah.
then let's party. Like,
I agree. And I don't understand the feeling. And I'm sure that it's out there where they try to feel like they trap people. Like, if you have a wallet and it's a Doge wallet and you want to make it hard for people to, why would you not just want to make the money doing a swap right in the wallet? But then what? You want to make it hard for them to sell the Doge for what reason? Like, you're not really going to trap anybody and keep the
exactly.
value of Doge up, kind of thing, like trying to stay isolated, which, now it looks like a lot of these wallets, like Phantom Wallet, MetaMask, or whatever, starting to loosen up with the multi-chain. I think they used to, like MetaMask in particular, was probably mostly like an Ethereum thing and maybe siloed, but I don't know. And then Uniswap, hopefully,
Yeah, but even MetaMask has signaled that they're going multi-chain.
right,
like,
right.
So everybody is like, I mean, yeah, Phantom does it. Like, obviously, Trust Wallet has been the biggest, like, not only THORChain's biggest supporter, like in terms of like how much swap volume it refers to us, but just, yeah, it's like pillar as a multi-chain app, and being like doing everything, doing EVM, doing Bitcoin and everything. So everyone's pivoting in that direction, and everyone knows that that's the direction to go. Even like custodial, custodial things like Casa, they were Bitcoin only for a long time, and then enough of their investors are like, hey, we need ETH and stable coins, and they're like, all right, they caved, and they finally did it. So like,
Nice.
almost all the volume on THORChain is Bitcoin, ETH, USDC, USDT. That's almost all of it. So like, you could delete 90% of the assets that we have on THORChain, and you still have like most of our volume, which is kind of crazy. And so it's like, what I'm trying to say is that there are some marginal improvements you can get by adding some of these chains and stuff like that, but almost all the volume just comes from these major things. And like, all you really need is 4 assets, and you can capture like a pretty incredible amount of like the market share and volume that people are actually doing.
Well, how much do you think? I mean, I know that that's the case right now on THORChain, but a lot of people might say that it's missing some of the biggest volume chains. For example, right, Solana.
Okay, Solana for sure. I think Solana is the only chain that we could add that'll actually be like 0 to 1 in impact, just because it's like pretty clearly just a cut above in terms of how much volume it does on centralized exchanges and on chain. So I think it's pretty clear that, I mean, we've known that we've needed Solana for a long time. Let me back up and kind of tell the story on like this last year a little bit. So like, we've obviously wanted Solana for a long time. We've been talking about it since probably, like, seriously, like, we've been talking about it for a long time, but the validating costs were pretty crazy. So we didn't do it during the bear market. Obviously, we didn't add any new chains besides switching Binance Beacon Chain for Binance Smart Chain. But this last year, we were like, all right, what's next? Let's finally add Solana. But then, so doing research on this, like, we looked into like how THORChain was. Yes, people saying like, you told me Sol was coming in Q3 2023. Yeah, exactly. And so let me tell the story on like why this is. So THORChain's built with the terrible assumption that there's only one encryption type, which is ECDSA, which is not what Solana supports. So the entire architecture of how THORChain thinks about its vaults and its key generation needed to be redone. So like that is being done right now. There's a PR that's being reviewed right now on how that works. So like in order to even support the chain, first you need to support the underlying encryption of the chain, and then we can add the chain. So like we could have prioritized Solana, but instead the choice that we made was to unblock app layer and unblock Rugira. So like that was obviously another big thing that unfolded like in the second half of last year. And what we could have done is dropped app layer on the floor and been like, all right, we're just going to focus on Solana, and we could have had it shipped by now for sure. Like it would have been shipped like easily, because that would have been where all of our focus is. But like, because we decided to come together with Strangelove and with the Rugi team, we had to, drop Solana until the app layer groundwork is done, because otherwise like we could have Solana now, but we'd just be starting on app layer now, and that wouldn't even be a thing until mid next year, where I still think it was definitely a tough decision, but I think it's the right decision, because otherwise those teams would have just been doing nothing for the past since October, September. But instead, we're able to keep them involved, get their knowledge up on THORChain, get them to actually start building stuff. So we've unblocked app layer, and we're still going to get Solana soon. It's our next priority, and we're all aligned on that. And we're not going to drop it for anything else, which is why I can say it's very confidently being worked on right now, and we really want to deliver this ASAP. But there's a lot of challenges. Like Chainflip is down right now because they can't keep up with the Solana demand. So and they also use solutions that we don't think are tenable for the way that THORChain operates. So and Coinbase has obviously been having problems with just Solana transactions and stuff like that. And if Coinbase is having problems, like a decentralized network, that's 100 times more difficult to keep online, because you have a validator set you don't trust versus like a trusted like Coinbase validator that just looks at everything. It's an extremely tough problem, and they're also saying they're going to 10x their throughput on Solana. So it's like, will these chains even be able to keep up? You can't even read the blocks faster than they're produced. Like I'm serious, because we looked into like how to do Solana. So like every other chain, we look at every block and every transaction, and we say which transactions are coming into THORChain. And so it's like an accounting thing, right? For Solana, if you're reading every transaction, every block, you literally can't read them faster than they're produced. It's insane. Like you need a different solution on how to do it. The architecture of that is what's going to make it fragile or not fragile. And there probably is going, like, no matter what the solution is, like Solana network has had problems before. There's still going to be like issues that come up in the future and things that we're going to have to deal with, just like Chainflip's dealing with right now. So right. Like even once we get it, it's not going to be a walk in the park, just because like it's a very different beast. And building an app on Solana is like can be crazy, just because of just the architecture is so different.
Yeah, I know the Chainflip having an issue, but I guess the trade-off you would have had a trade-off either way. If you had Solana now, then THORChain, you guys would have captured probably a lot of the Solana volume. But if you didn't do the app layer, then you got to deal with Hyperliquid, who seems to be building a ton of stuff. And I do want to ask you some Rugira Hyperliquid stuff after. I did see this tweet. Finn Contrarian put this out, which was awesome. And I just had a quick question about it. Maybe you know, maybe you don't know. But he dropped this EDDSA versus ECDSA thread, which was awesome. And he was saying that THORChain itself, and maybe you could just quickly clarify what this means, that THORChain soon will it be EDDSA? Does that mean that's something separate from the Cosmos stack that just gets tacked on? Or like, what is he talking about with this?
I'm not 100% sure what he's talking about.
Okay. Okay, cool. He was saying
I'm not an
THORChain is
encryption
gonna be
expert. I don't like. I believe we use ECDSA, and
Mhm.
EDDSA is used by like Solana,
Right.
Ton, for example. But I think some of these chains use multiple encryption types. Like I think like some of these you can use ECDSA and EDDSA. Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure that's how it works.
Yeah.
So I thought THORChain uses ECDSA, which is why I said like, oh, THORChain couldn't even be integrated into Sarai because I think they only use EDDSA or something similar to that.
Okay.
It's a little weird though. I'm not going to pretend to completely understand the
Yeah.
cryptography, but
Too much
beyond,
for me.
like, you know, underlying most of these things, I trust our security experts that know this stuff. So
Okay.
yeah, I don't know.
No, that's cool. That's cool. Yeah, I was
But
just
yeah, point is that EDDSA opens up a lot of doors for us. Like,
sweet.
maybe what they're trying to. Oh, I think what they're saying here is that we're going to support EDDSA chain soon. So like, we're not an EDDSA chain, but we're going to have support for a lot of these
Okay.
EDDSA chains.
Yeah,
That might be what they're trying to say.
maybe I just misread. Yeah. Okay.
Like the way they have it is weird because like we don't use it for underlying encryption, but we're going to support it for swaps. So
Okay.
Cool. Don't worry about it too much.
Well, so let's get all right. And I think this is what everyone wants to know. I've seen it over in the comments. So everyone that's commenting, what's up, Reed, Diplo, Milan? Nice to see you guys in here. Appreciate the chats. There's been a couple people now that have mentioned, and you already know where I'm going with this, I'm sure.
My teaser.
I just got the call with the eyeballs. Hit us.
Yeah, all right. I'll give a little bit of context without going too far in. So like, mostly what I think about day to day is how to get THORChain into the biggest wallets in the space and start doing a ton of volume. And like, right now we already have Trust Wallet, we have OKX Wallet, we have BitGet, we have some really great wallets, and Trust Wallet is like an order of magnitude above pretty much anybody else in terms of the volume that they do. And basically, like all I'm saying is I think we can get a couple of Trust Wallets into THORChain. Like Trust Wallet does like so much volume, but I think we can get a couple of them. And like obviously it's something we've been working on for a while, and I think we'll have a couple Trust Wallets by sometime this year, like Q2, I don't know. Like I think like I think that the sentiment for builders and what the people who are like really seriously building for multi-chain infrastructure in this space, which is what everybody is pivoting to right now, is building on multiple chains. And like we just added Base, which I think is very strategic in this regard, obviously. So yeah, I mean, I think we can get a couple of different major wallets getting tortured, and like this isn't like a secret or anything like that. Like
I know.
Like this is just like, yeah, I think we can power all the industry rails for all the major wallets, and that's just the start. Like cool. I think that the wallets are like the lowest hanging fruit for us, and I think once we penetrate every single major wallet and start doing all their infrastructure, then THORChain kind of takes its next step, and kind of then people will start building on it in more unique ways, which we've already been seeing a little bit. But first step is getting all the major wallets and being in like all the top ones. So there's only a couple that we aren't in now, and I think we can crack all of them like pretty soon. And but half of what it takes is just the community. Like Ledger, they've all said this. Like a lot of the reason why they chose to add THORChain as core infrastructure, and they've been supporting us so much over the years and have added THORChain as like a swap provider. It's because of the community and because the infrastructure is like solid, battle tested. It just works. So yeah, I mean, what I ask from the community is just like we need you guys to make these wallet integrations happen, and they'll happen. We're gonna try and make them happen either way, but like there's no we only benefit by like everybody pushing in the same direction. So like yeah, we just need to have a couple more wallets that we need to push through, and then like we're good. We're in every single major consumer wallet in the world, powering the biggest flows at scale for everybody in the industry. So like
okay,
we're like really close to that point.
All right. So there's a couple comments there. We're gonna, if any behavior analysts are out there in the crowd, I'm about to hit them right now, okay? And you tell me what you think. So I'm just going to say some wallets and then see if you can read it in his eyes. Kraken. Coinbase. Oh, man, he's poker facing us pretty big time. I don't know. I'd assume that they said the Binance wallet. Isn't Trust Wallet basically Binance wallet?
Yeah, but they also have their own wallet. The wallet's called Binance Web3 wallet, and it's actually built into the Binance app. So it's like if you go on the Binance app, like I can't because I'm an American, obviously. But like, yeah, if you go on the Binance app, there's like a Web3 wallet that's built into there. Which, yeah, that would be also a cool place for THORChain swaps. And it's like, whether it happens, whether it doesn't, like it's completely, all this stuff is out of my control. So like all I can do is just do my best to just sell the case for THORChain and just say like, hey, listen, we have this infrastructure that really works. So like whether it happens or not, like I don't know, like who knows? That's all we can do is push in the right direction is what I'm trying to say.
That's cool. That's cool. Yeah, who knows the wallet, but I remember Tyler Reynolds. He put a tweet out there that was like, you're going to have a bunch of CeFi front ends all run by DeFi backends, which, and that's going to be like, think of every DEX that launches and then is going to integrate possibly THORChain in the back end. And then all the centralized exchanges that are probably also going to want to offload a lot of the back end infrastructure to someone else, to THORChain potentially. Yep. So yeah,
it's already happening. Like there's one exchange, EXCH is the name of it, capital X in there. They're like this privacy focused exchange out of the EU. They already use THORChain to rebalance their books on the back end. So like what you're saying is already it's already happening, but just more invisibly than you might think. Like when they do stuff, or when it like other people could be doing this and we wouldn't even know, because how would we know that?
It's just a swap, right?
It's just a swap. So unless you're tracking those wallets, you wouldn't know. But yeah. So
that's
like
awesome.
there are already exchanges doing this. It's like when bigger flows start tapping into it, we probably won't even know unless we initiate them doing it, But obviously anyone can just tap into this stuff without us even knowing. And there's no trace that's left behind in terms of like who this person is. All we just see is the swaps on chain. So unless they're leaving an affiliate code, like we can see all the addresses and we can see the input and the output, but like the owner is still unknown to us.
The only reason they might even do it, I mean, if they're privacy focused, they obviously wouldn't. But then the only thing they might get out of it is maybe some clout. If THORChain becomes like heavily trusted, they could say we're doing all this through THORChain, and it could be like a sort of like a brand thing that gives them legitimacy. I'm guessing. But so there you go, friends. This is the sum up of this is possible wallet stuff. We're not going to get any more from Tyler here, though. I'm pretty certain about that. But still,
I would never like I would never want to talk
under-promise, over-deliver
too much. Yeah, exactly. And that's the way I like to do it. But also, like, I don't like being bullish alone, So, it seems like some people are kind of bearish and just being like, what's going on here? And I just want to reiterate that Ledger, that integration took like about 2 years to happen, like from initial conversation to like just them working through their own things that they're doing, their own priorities, to finally like, okay, we're going to integrate like 8 months from now to like, all right, like a month of technical work and then it's live, and then we continue to work with our team, so.
Yeah,
like these things, when you're talking about the major wallets, like the really big ones and like the really big organizations is really what I mean. They're so slow moving that it's like, if you're thinking about it in like crypto years, like it's a long time, but it's going to be worth it in the end, I think. And our main goal is to drive as much revenue to THORChain as possible. And the only way that happens is through like organic swap fees and just getting more users to use the infra. So yeah, it's the right way to push, and we're gonna make it happen. Just
cool.
just trust the process a little bit, and it'll happen.
I was thinking like a lot of the bearish sentiment, I think, has to do with market timing, I think, and what people suspect is going to be the peak of the bull run potentially this year, and they want all of the stuff that THORChain could potentially have to be jammed into it in time for the most giga pump possible, to then sell their bags and retire. And I like the way you guys, I know that things are kind of slow, and then it does. So for me, just my own personal temperament, I'm not tripping really. Like I'm already kind of looking out anyways. Like for me, THORChain is like a longer term. I just don't, maybe something comes and knocks it off in like 2 to 3 years, but the moat you guys seem to be building and the integrations and all this has me personally not too worried. So I don't know if the rest of the community, I don't know what your take on that is.
Yeah, dude. I mean, THORChain is such a long-term project, and it's just, you know, you can't even think about the cycles in terms of THORChain because, yeah, building this thing slower and safer is so much more important than just building it quick and shipping it out and getting hacked and something happens to it. You know, like we need to like preserve it. Like the only thing that I think the only way that we lose as THORChain is like we mess up and we get hacked and fail. Like I think that's the only way that THORChain loses its lead in this market, just because it has all the advantages going for it in terms of like OG DeFi project, like, you know, one of the original OG DeFi projects, is in like one of the first like 5 major DeFi projects. Even though it sometimes doesn't get that credit because that's kind of mostly focused on Ethereum, THORChain is one of those. Just the Lindy effect from being around for so long and from doing cross-chain swaps in the wild for so long. And it also, like, the decentralization of the validator set. Like, this is the boring stuff that people don't really care about, but like any competitor to THORChain inherently will not be as decentralized as THORChain is. And I like THORChain is very decentralized. Like there's no entity that controls it. Like we don't control it. All we do is we just write code that other people have to accept in order to run things on the network. And we're experts in THORChain, so we try and like suggest things that the nodes should enact to make the network better. Right. But like we can't do anything without the nodes. So and I think that any network that's trying to bootstrap, the hardest thing to bootstrap is the validator set. Like there's no shortcuts in doing that. And I think that the way that other networks have done it does not optimize for a decentralized validator set, and like which is fine. But I think that the real advantage to THORChain is its decentralization and the fact that like you can't just shut it down or tell the team to stop working on it or something like that, just because of its attributes. So I think those are the major advantages. The only thing that we can do is just like do something out of turn, and that's how we fall. I think that there's no way that any like current competitor or any imagination of that like really gets up to where we are in terms of just a raw scale. THORChain, it's like order of magnitudes the biggest decentralized vault manager, and then it just does swaps on top of that. So that's the direction it's going.
Yeah, I've seen some designs where they don't actually manage liquidity also. So it's like the liquidity has to exist somewhere safely, and they might be tapping into centralized exchanges or using like decentralized market maker strategies, which I'm not just technically that smart.
Yeah. So one thing that I've noticed that people are doing now and people are talking about a lot now is intents. And which is okay. I have some hot takes on this, and I'd love to hear you guys' thoughts on like what I think about this. So intents is basically like creating this on-chain system where someone can, you know, put in it, say, hey, I have 1 Bitcoin, I want 100,000 USDT. And then someone comes in and says, here's, you know, give me your Bitcoin and I'll give you the USDT. And I'm thinking about this and I'm just like, isn't this just 2017 Shapeshift? Like, how is this like, this isn't decentralized at all. Like you're just putting it, just because you have an on-chain element, like it's still all managed by like one trusted entity that is actually the person that's providing the liquidity. So I'm like, yeah, you can do swaps for cheaper, but like, yeah, because it's coming out of a single sig wallet that you're just monitoring. Like, it doesn't really make sense to me, because you're just reverting back to like centralized / atomic swaps / you know, no liquidity. Like, you know, like it's not it doesn't seem, it's not decentralized to me. And I think that they could have an advantage in terms of just like obviously like speed and throughput, which is an advantage in one way, but like, I don't know. I don't, it's not decentralized at all. So like it doesn't really make sense how it fits in with the rest of the ecosystem there, especially if like there's one liquidity provider / market maker that's the one that's actually making all the trades. In that case, it just seems like it's it's a centralized swap service that's run by this one person, but they just don't do KYC or anything like that, which I don't know. I don't think that's legal. So, I mean, I think that there's some problems with that. So I think the way that THORChain operates is the correct way in terms of maximum decentralization and censorship resistance, which those intense-based bridges don't have.
Yeah, I'm wondering because like for it seems like the ethos of like decentralization is sort of becoming a meme in crypto, which is sort of unfortunate. I even see sometimes JP even says stuff that worries me, where he's like, given the U.S. government's stance, centralization is okay now, and I'm always like, oh, like it is until it isn't, but like I don't want to go back. I don't want to.
It depends on the layer of the stack. Like the back end has to be decentralized, and front ends are inherently more centralized because they just have to be, because of the way that like DNS works and like all these other like legal entities. And so it's most important that the back end of the stack, as in like THORChain itself, is decentralized, which is true. So that's good. And yeah, it's a tricky problem because there's so many different like layers to it.
Yeah.
You got to peel back the onion a little bit, and it's like, yeah, it's just a lot to talk about there.
Yeah, I still find it important. I hope it doesn't lose it. And yeah, I think decentralization is maybe not important until it is important. And I just worry that crypto broadly is getting lulled to sleep a little bit. Like part of me thinks that a lot of Gary Gensler's Lawfare stuff was like good for the space because it was like, all right, build it so that who cares? But then, you know, it's easy for me to say as somebody that's not a builder. So now, and also, if everyone just wants to get their bags pumped, then obviously being accepted by institutions, people are going to get their bags pumped. And I think, I don't know, there's this weird, there's like, it's just trying to feel out the sentiment. And I don't know, the stuff that I still think THORChain's building the stuff that I find important, which is, you know, censorship resistance, decentralization, all those kind of things, at least on the back end.
It's a decentralized exchange for the most decentralized currency that exists, Bitcoin. Like it's a pretty simple value. That's what drew me to it in the first place. I was like, a decentralized exchange for Bitcoin. That's awesome because exchange it, like shovel sellers are like obviously the most profitable businesses when it comes to like any of this stuff. And you know, no one does it for Bitcoin. So like, yeah, it's a huge advantage right there.
Well, let's switch topic a little bit to Rugira, and I don't know how. Let me know if time gets to where the time goes on.
Yeah. Let's keep it rolling.
Okay. Yeah. Cool. So, I saw this from yesterday. I did a live stream just by myself talking about the differences in the way I think the market is valuing Rugi and Rune versus Hyperliquid, and just speculating on some things. And we were talking about, the chat was awesome. They were talking about how Hyperliquid, and this is one of my theories too, is that it's just like mercenary trading. So every perp dex that I've used in the past, like I remember there was one I was saying yesterday on the stream. It was called Level Finance, and it was doing billions in volume, like stupid amounts. And I remember being like, how is this project worth like a fraction of the volume it's supposedly going through? And then it just, as the volume came through, they rewarded the volume, and then it just like died. And then Finn Blue, community member, was like, I've invested in 6 different perp dexes in the last 3 years, and I've never gone back to it. They've always died. And so we're talking about wash trade, and this is just, I'm curious your thoughts on all that. And then I saw this from Ansem today, and I was like, okay, is this not exactly what I said yesterday? He suggests that what you need to do to make it, right, this cycle, whatever, trade actively on Hyperliquid ahead of Hyper EVM launch to not miss the next airdrop of 40%. And I'm like, this is the wash incentive.
Yeah,
I don't
exactly.
Rewarding like volume as it's coming through, but I speculate that once this drops and all the supplies out there, that you might see a major crash and people might just like abandon it.
Yeah, I mean, I remember reading something about like, remember the uni airdrop a while back, and it's something like, I don't know, 80-90% of people who got the uni airdrop just dumped it. Like almost nobody actually held it. Airdrops they're so interesting because it's like it doesn't exist anywhere else in the world in this form. So it's like, it is really interesting to think about. Like, and I think it's cool that it's just like a market. It's the best way to market, but it could also be just I don't know. It could be really good if executed well, and it could be really bad if not executed well. So like,
Yeah.
I think that if they ran a similar playbook with Rugi, like it could bring a lot of attention, and it could bring more people into the ecosystem. Like I think that what the Rugi team should be doing, and like I'm working with them to help execute on all this, is doing some kind of points program, airdrop campaign type thing, just to bootstrap the decks, basically bootstrap all of the infrastructure that they're building. They're building some really cool stuff, and I'm really excited to see like how they build on top of THORChain stack. Because like app layer, I think app layer is going to be really big for THORChain, just because it's it's what we should have done from the beginning in regards to like THORFi and like savers and lending, because it'll be like a more scalable approach to that, and like a lending protocol that we can scale up to billions and billions, and not really worry so much about just about any kind of THORFi things. Like
Yeah.
they're going to be great products, and then it's just really just I think the products are going to sell themselves, honestly, but I think we should also be considering some kind of like airdrop campaign to just bootstrap users and get them into the apps. I'm just excited to see THORChain like have additional revenue streams from like apps that are built on top of THORChain. So these apps are going to be sick. Like like Bitcoin lending is such a big product. I think we can scale that to multiple billions of dollars, which will bring like we could scale that very large, I think, and get institutions involved. There's so much surface area with it. Like, but the thing is, it doesn't exist right now. So like we need to build it first, and then let's get the users, and then once we have like a ton of users, like it just becomes that much more of a self-fulfilling prophecy, and it's all built on top of THORChain's rails, right? So
Yeah.
it all benefits the base layer. And their team is just they're really really good. Like their builders and their community are like they're super solid. And the apps are just going to be so useful that they're going to sell themselves, and like we're going to get them out into the into the ecosystem. So
that's the hope, right? That's always the hope, that if you build it, they will come.
Yeah, that's what we've done, and people have come. But I think that
true.
means we shouldn't also rest on our laurels and be like, yeah, just because we build it, they're going to come. Like I think they should like they have their own token. Like it's not like they don't have any means to do this. Like they should be doing some kind of hyperliquid play on Rugi, just getting some new mindshare in. Because I think one of the biggest issues for THORChain right now is that we don't really have because we don't really have our own front end for THORChain, and like we just have these mercenary front ends like THORSwap and Shapeshift and Trust Wallet and stuff. They don't sell our products for them. So I think having like this kind of vertical stack of Rugi there will be somewhere where you can just access all of THORChain's stuff, but in a way that's vertically integrated with the backend, with the THORChain app layer backend. So I think it'll just be a better UX overall. So it'll be, I think it'll be better in that way, because the way that people access THORChain products right now is weird, because you're accessing it through like another company who's also trying to sell their own thing. Like, THORSwap is selling their Thor tokens, like,
Yeah.
So I think that there's, and someone said in the comments here, Volti, Rugi, Rune. I think there's also a lot of opportunity to like collaborate with Voltisig as well as part of this, and just like do some more coordination, because it's coordination and communication is, I think, the most difficult problem that we face right now. It's not really technical things anymore. It's just there's so many teams working on this, and everyone's doing their own thing, that like right now is the time for us to kind of work together and just like hone our next moves a little bit more, and like just more coordination is what we need. And it's the hardest thing to do in a decentralized like environment. Everyone just kind of does whatever they want.
Right. I mean, so sticking with Rugi for a second, is, since you're with Nine Realms, do you know, is there any security concerns about the separation of powers and economic security that Rugira might cause for the THORChain base layer?
Yeah.
Or is that sort of, do you know if that's largely?
Yeah, I think there is a bit, but I think we're just so far from that point right now. Like we have hundreds of millions of extra security space in the network right now. So I don't think that we're nowhere close to having the problem of like, oh man, we're securing like 5 billion of assets. Like, that's Like we need to make sure that the nodes are incentivized in the right way to not like, try anything to like steal funds or anything. We're so far from that point that I think that's not really a concern for me. I think economic security, like now that we're kind of moving into this like app layer trade asset, like tack of THORChain, I think that's just us admitting that economic security is a bit of a meme. Not that that's something we want to abandon, and it's something that's like it's because core to THORChain is like economic security and like making sure that validators are always staking more than they have at risk, like in the vaults. So I think that this is kind of a departure from that, but at the same time, we're so far from that point where I don't think it's going to be a problem. Like the nodes are always going to have final say over what happens on the network. And if Rugi is doing something, let's say Rugi had an app where they have 10 billion of Bitcoin and the Bitcoin's doing nothing. It's not generating any profit. It's just like a hold Bitcoin app, right? That's bad for THORChain because we have to secure all that Bitcoin and we're not getting paid for it. So I think like the nodes will be the police on what is good for THORChain and what is bad for THORChain. Yeah. And like as long as capital is on Rugi and it's productive and it's generating income for Rune, for Rune and THORChain and the nodes, I think that incentives are aligned. So yeah, cool. The nodes are the ones that they're gonna be the ones that are gonna whitelist every contract that goes in. And if it's looking like there's something that's happening on the app layer, and this doesn't even go for Rugi, there's anyone that builds an app on THORChain app layer. If an app is actively hurting THORChain, the nodes are going to probably vote to like get it off, and like they're the final say. And today's validator set is not tomorrow's validator set. There's no such thing as like a promise that is like indefinite in this space. Like the validator set of today is the rules of today. So if the validator set today agrees and tomorrow they don't, then that's what it is. So it's good because they can be free to build whatever they want, but at the same time, if the nodes aren't happy with what they brought to the table, like they're gonna kick them off and tell them to do something else. So it just aligns incentives, and I think
I feel like I knew that as you were saying that, but at the same time, it didn't feel like it had sunk in until you just said it like that. Like there's still the fact that things can be analyzed as they're happening, and then the nodes who want to protect their own interests, unless they're like feds or something that just have money to blow and lose or something like this. But assuming the nodes want to make an income and secure their actual wealth, they're not gonna want to have, like you just said, increased risk and any of that kind of thing. And then exactly. I also on the Rugi side of things too, I did see Rugira Leagues, I think is their points program that they're thinking of. And then I didn't go check is there a percentage of the Rugi token that is set aside for airdrops?
I mean, I don't know, because like this is like my main area. I mean, if there isn't, then there should be. Is what I'm trying to say. Like I'm campaigning to the way that I want to just like use my own influence / just like talking to the team is like I want to make sure that the community is taken care of, and like I there definitely should be, because that's the way that we're gonna get net new liquidity into THORChain and the apps, is just like just incentivizing people to try it out. And I think people are going to try it out naturally, but like I think we can supercharge that and put that on like acceleration mode if we do a points campaign and airdrop. So I think there probably is something, but if there isn't, then I'm going to be pushing for it.
Yeah, I think that'd be cool. Something. But then also, do you want to just do an airdrop to people that aren't going to be actively putting volume through? So I wonder if they would set it up to be kind of like Hyperliquid did, because Hyperliquid was up for like 3 or 4 months before they even launched their token or their airdrop. And then they airdropped it to not even everybody that did activity. It was like the top, I can't remember, the top 1,000 or 10,000 addresses or something like this. So maybe something could be there where it's, again, where Rugi launches, you can do everything. And maybe after 4 months, like Ansem over here, right? Where we get a tweet from him where he's like, yeah, you definitely want to be sending, but also
exactly.
Mercenary
I agree with you. And if I had full control over what everyone did, then there's probably certain ways that I would do it. And I would probably delay the token in order to just like bootstrap the network by doing points for, you know what I mean? Like I would probably be doing something like that. But like, I also realize that there's actual realities and like contributors need to get paid. And like, I don't know. I don't even know what their deal is that they made with JP. So like, I'm not even like privy to this information really. Like, I don't even know. So, you know, there's realities and like people have to get paid at some point. So like, I understand why they do things the way that they're doing it. So it's really just like helping mold the sculpture into the shape that, you know, we want to see it in. But it's like, you don't have full control over it really. And nobody does. Like, I don't think there's anyone that could be like, yeah, we're just going to do this. And everyone just goes along with it. Like, there's always going to be just a lot of voices that are just like pushing in different directions. And like, that's going to help shape the final like picture that comes out of the canvas.
Sweet. Okay.
Well, I'm hyped on it though. Like, I think Rugi's gonna be sick. Their builders are so good, and the apps that they're gonna build, like it's gonna like I'm really looking forward to this DeFi ecosystem coming online. And it's like Rugi apps with all of our native asset liquidity is just such a great combination. It's gonna bring a lot of income to THORChain just off like lending interest rates and liquidations and like. There's a lot of possibilities that come here. We've been talking about this for years, and I wish we did this like, 2 years ago instead of focusing on anything THORFi. But it's the cards that we've been dealt, and that's like this is what I was talking about. Like going into the dark forest, you're like first, you kind of need to stumble into some like thorns, and you find some wolves and stuff, and like there's gonna be things that aren't expected. And if you're first, like you're the one that's experiencing those rather than like just kind of creeping behind and seeing what happens and reacting to it. So
MySpace, Facebook, perfect. Sometimes second mover is the one that wins and does the best.
And people in the comments are asking about like loans and THORFi and wind down and stuff like that.
I was going to bring it up. I was going to say, if lending happens on Rugira, I know a lot of people fear a bank run on lending. Is there a possibility that there's a mass closure of all the loans that try to flee to Rugira that has some sort of negative impact?
Yeah, I'm not worried about lending wind down or Savers wind down, really. I think that, I think that any kind of mass exit event is entirely precipitated on just fear and uncertainty. Yeah. And like THORChain can meet its collateral obligations at any Rune price, essentially. And we also have fail safes in case things go horribly wrong. So it's not like they're like the people that are really scared about lending, they're scared of two things. They're scared of liquidity flight, which like I'm not scared of really. About 25%. Yeah, that's the collateral remaining. Look at that. We're up to 1,600 BTC in collateral. Yeah, we're down to 1,200, and hard.
There hasn't been a
where's the fear now? Like things are like everyone's been able to redeem just fine. Like, I'm really not worried about us being able to like fulfill our obligations on that. They're indefinite period loans. Some people want to get it done sooner rather than later. I say just let it go just naturally over the course of however many years. Like I don't see a reason to force any kind of exit or anything like that.
I think I understand where Kenton's coming from. I think what would happen is there's probably going to be a threshold where once the lending gets down to a certain amount as a percentage of maybe total revenue that THORChain is generating, there might be like an acceptable risk sort of thing. Like if there were only 200 Bitcoin worth of collateral and THORChain was doing 5x its volume right now, I don't think many would really care. No. But I think it's just the spot it's in, but with time, hopefully it looks healthier. I'm kind of, I don't know.
I think things are fine right now. And not all these loans are going to get closed as well, which I think is what people are worried. Like someone's going to come in and close every single loan. I don't think every loan's going to get closed. I think they're only going to get closed if we somehow force some kind of action and force them to get closed. And even if we closed every single loan, we're still under the max supply. So like, not that things couldn't go the other direction and there is like somehow some sort of problem, but like we also have the tools to react to that. We have like a circuit breaker on the supply side. Like I think things are just very, very fine with THORFi lending, and like the fear of it is more just like the fear of uncertainty of just like, oh my God, like what if something happens? Like I need to like get out before something happens, instead of like there is some event actually happening right now and like I need to withdraw, otherwise like I'm screwed. I think things are totally fine with THORChain, and like the fears are kind of overblown. Which is what was so frustrating, because like the other week when this like drama was going down, it's like, you know, the day before I was like, you know, trying to talk to the people. Yeah, the vibes are important for sure. It's more just about the vibe, and like I think it's important to just like have like exude confidence in the system. Like it's worked perfectly over all those redemptions. Like there hasn't been any kind of hyperinflation or move to close loans in mass. Like yeah, there was a big spike, and that's because there was so much fear that people were spreading, and misinformation too. There's so much misinformation that people just don't like, you know, really think about, because yeah, it's very complex, and I don't blame people for doing that, but it's like, you know, spend a lot of time talking to people about this stuff. So
even 8bytes, the guy that made the initial tweet, I think,
yes.
I think it was him. Maybe Tyler threw one in there as well. I can't exactly remember who did which first, but even 8bytes, if you'd follow the thread, was going into it with Boone, and
yeah,
like the 8bytes, who said himself that he's mostly like Cacao and I think something else, but non-Rune, was like flipped bullish on Rune on the response of how it was handled and what showed on the protocol. So even the guy that possibly was the one that kicked it off, this made him bullish on Rune after it was all said and done.
I was just like, dude, like you really sent out a tweet that put people into a mass panic, and now you're like, yeah, guys, now I'm bullish. It's like,
bullish,
all right, thanks for like derailing like a week of my life, having to fight this fire, bro.
Yeah.
Just to be like, yeah, everything's fine. Like, you know, it's like, yeah, everything was fine before you started saying shit too. It's all right, bro. I listen. 8bytes listening to this. I love you, and I respect what you're saying. And you know, listen, everyone that's like saying stuff about it, like people are coming from the right place, and I just want to say, like, I appreciate people that are like trying to sound the fire alarm. It's like it's a tough situation, because like you don't want to be like, you want to alert people if you think there's danger, but at the same time you don't want to scream fire in a crowded theater when there is no fire, you know. So it's like people don't realize, because they, you know, so people don't really understand how the system works, and they'll think it's a fire, but it's actually just like on the movie, it's a bonfire on the movie screen, you know, and they're like, oh shit, it's a fire, like everyone leave the theater. So yeah, that's just my thoughts on it. I'm not worried about the THORChain obligations. Things are going to roll off and naturally scale down over time. And hey, every new pool that we're launching, every new chain, there's no savers, there's no like, you know, there's no outstanding liabilities there. Like we're gonna move on, and things are gonna work just fine. Yeah, nothing. Yeah, every business is normal. Like let's just we get to move on, and things get to wind down, and you know, nothing breaks.
Sweet. Well, we've been going for an hour and 15 minutes. I think it'd be a good spot to and I'd love to have you back on the channel at some point in the future if you're down for it. But do you have any sort of closing thoughts, or maybe anywhere you want people to go for anything?
Yeah. So I mean, I'll just plug Rune tools. So that's the dashboard that I've been building just on my own time. So that's rune.tools is the URL, and I got a bunch of tools on there you can do. I originally built it for the bond tracker. So if you provide bond, like if you know, are a node operator or something, you can, if you click the little dice button there, it'll just take you to a random one, so you can just like see what it looks like. Cool. So like, yeah, you can track your bond this way. You can bookmark the URL up top, or add it to an app on your phone, which is what I do. I have like a little Rune Tools app on my phone, so you can just like click on it and just see like how much you're earning, basically. Yeah, just check out the tools. Give me some feedback. Here? Yeah, if you or you see the URL, you can just like copy the URL and do that. But if you go on your phone, if you go on Safari and you go to the share icon, like on like where the URL comes up, you can do add to home screen, and it'll actually add this. It'll make a progressive web app on your home screen. It's really cool. You should, if you haven't done it, you should try it out, because progressive web apps are pretty damn cool. You can basically like make an app without actually making an app. It's awesome. But yeah, just bookmark this. I have LP trackers on here too. I just want to build stuff, and I want to also encourage other people to build stuff too. So if you're like, you know, thinking about, if you want to like work on THORChain, you should just work on THORChain, which is exactly what I did, and now this is like, you know, what I think about all day. So yeah, thanks for thanks for chatting. Thanks for checking out my stuff. Check out Rune Tools. There's a shop on here too. If you really like THORChain, you can buy like a hat or something. Yeah, like I just want to make cool stuff and get it out to people, and I just want to be a part of this really awesome project, which I have a lot of passion for. So I appreciate like everyone's support, because like I've been doing these like spaces and things and talking to the community for a long time. I love talking to people about THORChain, and I love selling it too. Like it's very fun to talk to wallets and like everybody about this infra. So like we're gonna get everybody on it, and it's gonna be because of the community and like all the efforts of all the builders and everything. So just want to say like appreciate everybody, and if you're out there, just build something. If you want to change in your life, like you can just do stuff. So I just want to like make that explicitly clear. Just build something and put it out there, and just do something. The tools are there for you to do it.
Awesome closing thoughts. I might go look to build something right now. Thanks again, Tyler, for coming on.
Cool. Yep. Thanks, guys.